Welcome back to our news bulletin. The US has recorded its lowest daily death toll from the coronavirus in 3 weeks, with 1,258 fatalities in the past 24 hours. The total number of deaths in the country has surged past 51,000. Worldwide, the virus has killed over 195,000 people and infected almost 2.8 million so far. Further details in this report.
The coronavirus pandemic continues to take thousands of lives daily as under economic pressure, governments across the world consider easing the restrictions. In the US, every 1 in 6 workers are out of the job, which has forced several states to take tentative steps and reopening businesses despite concerns. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump left the daily media briefing without taking any questions over criticism on suggesting disinfectants as a treatment. Trump said he was being sarcastic when he raised the possibility of injecting disinfectants inside people's bodies to fight coronavirus.
Because when they say that something will last 3 or 4 hours or 6 hours, but if the sun is out or if they use disinfectant, it goes away in less than a minute. Did you hear about this yesterday? But I was asking a very sarcastic question to the reporters in the room about disinfectant on the inside. But it does kill it, and it would kill it on the hands, and that would make things much better.
The Czech Republic has eased lockdown restrictions after a drop in new cases sparked optimism. Belgium has also announced a detailed plan to gradually lift country's COVID-19 restrictions. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization said the agency is teaming up with countries and partners to accelerate work on drugs and a vaccine. Joining hands with the WHO, Germany said all new vaccines, diagnostics, and treatments must be made equally available to everyone globally.
I agree with the UN Secretary General that a vaccine is a global common good, and to producing it and then sharing it around the world. It would be a large, powerful effort when we get this vaccine. So we are supporting with our full efforts the conference on May 4th.
In the meantime, Sri Lanka has reimposed a countrywide 24-hour curfew after a surge in the number of infections.
In Pakistan, the coronavirus death toll has reached 253 after 16 died in the last 24 hours. The Health Ministry reported 785 infection cases in the last 24 hours, bringing the total to nearly 12,000. The ministry said 2,755 patients have recovered so far across the country. It said the province of Punjab leads in the number of cases with over 5,000 infections. The ministry said more than 138,000 tests have been conducted countrywide, with 6,780 taken yesterday. Meanwhile, Chinese ambassador in Pakistan, Yao Jing, said Beijing is standing with Islamabad amid the pandemic. In a statement, Jing said Beijing has sent medical equipment, doctors' teams, and safety goods for Pakistanis. Indian forces have martyred another 3 youths in the Pulwama district of occupied Kashmir. Police said the Kashmiris were killed during a cordon and search operation in the Avantipora city of the district. The occupation forces also killed 2 civilians in Kolgam district yesterday and 4 in Shopian districts on Wednesday. Total 9 Kashmiris have been martyred this week. Indian troops have killed 96 Kashmiris, including 3 women, during the ongoing 8-month-long siege in the valley. The occupied territory is reeling under New Delhi's crushing curfew and communications blackout for the past 265 days. The Taliban say they are still committed to Doha peace deal despite hindrances created by the Afghan government. In a statement, the group said the Kabul administration has demanded ceasefire despite the continuation of attacks against them. The Taliban said under the deal, a ceasefire will be implemented only after prisoners' release and the start of intra-Afghan talks. The group said it believes the sole path towards a resolution is to implement the agreement as sequenced phase by phase. The Taliban statement comes after US Special Envoy Zalmay Khalilzad echoed NATO's call for peace in Afghanistan. Khalilzad said the bloc statement focused on violence reduction, end of a political feud, and fight against COVID-19. The envoy asked the Taliban and the Afghan government to move more quickly on the release of prisoners. Turkey's defense ministry says its forces have killed 12 Kurdistan Workers' Party militants in northern Iraq. In a tweet, the ministry said one soldier was killed and 3 others wounded in an attack on a military base in the HAFTAR region. Earlier, Turkish troops killed 20 PKK militants in northern Syria. The fighters were killed while trying to infiltrate the Operation Peace Spring zone across Turkey's southern border. Ankara said it will not stop the operations against militants in the region. Turkey holds the PKK responsible for the deaths of some 40,000 people in a 30-year terror campaign. In Libya, Khalifa Haftar's forces have killed 3 civilians in an attack in Tripoli on the first day of the holy month of Ramadan. A spokesman for the UN-backed government said the rocket attack on a civilian settlement in the Ain Zara region left 3 others wounded. Last week, government forces launched a military operation to recapture Terhuna. The town is Haftar's last major stronghold in the area surrounding Tripoli. Government forces have been under attack by the warlords militia since April 2019, with over 1,000 killed in the violence. The Libyan government launched Operation Peace Storm on March 26 to counter attacks on the capital. The foreign ministers of Germany, France, Italy and the EU have made a joint call for a humanitarian truce in Libya. In a joint statement, the ministers said all sides must get inspiration from the holy Ramadan and resume peace talks for a ceasefire. The statement said Europe wants to unite its voice to those of the UN and its Libya representative in their call for a truce in the country. On Thursday, the UN said Libya is turning into an experimental field for all kinds of new weapons systems. It called for all countries to respect the arms embargo reached at Berlin conference in January. Tripoli's government of national accord has been battling Eastern commander Khalifa Haftar since the fall of dictator Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani has called his armed forces to seek regional stability while maintaining vigilance in the region. President's statement comes amid an escalating war of words with the U.S. State media quoted Rouhani as saying Tehran must maintain an authoritative presence in the Gulf region. On Thursday, head of Iran's elite Revolutionary Guard said Tehran would destroy U.S. warships if its security is threatened in the Gulf. This came a day after President Donald Trump warned Tehran over harassment of U.S. vessels. Meanwhile, the UK expressed concern over Iran's launch of a military satellite using ballistic missile technology. A British office spokesperson said the launch is inconsistent with the 2015 UN Security Council resolution. However, Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif reiterated Tehran's position that its missiles are not designed to carry nuclear arms. The Pakistan Navy conducted successful anti-ship missile demonstrations from multiple launch platforms on Saturday. Navy spokesperson Rear Admiral Arshad Javed says the missiles were fired from surface ships as well as fixed and rotary wing aircraft. The live fire drill used a decommissioned surface ship as a target. The exercise was observed by Navy Chief Admiral Zafar Masood. Speaking after the demonstration, Admiral Masood said, "The Pakistan Navy is ready to thwart any aggression against Pakistan." However, the Navy did not give any details on the kind of missile used in the demonstration. We have a lot more coming up right after this short break, so stay tuned. Welcome back. Environmentalists have warned the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic must not deprioritize the war on climate change. Unfortunately, that's exactly what is happening in Indian-occupied Kashmir, where the authorities have ordered the cutting down of tens of thousands of trees in a bid to stop allergies during the viral outbreak. Does this move make any sense? Find out in this report.
New Delhi has turned occupied Kashmir into the world's biggest prison after illegally revoking Article 370. Now, the authorities in the valley have taken another controversial decision of cutting down thousands of poplar trees, fearing a convergence of respiratory allergies amid the global pandemic. Environmentalists and doctors assert that the tree's pollen and seeds do not present a respiratory threat bigger than other spring-blooming plants. They warn widespread forest degradation may in fact be the bigger threat.
I am just reproducing an health expert's view that it is not causing any allergy. But it is simple, a myth now carried over the years that it causes the allergy, but it has not been proved.
Poplar wood is also used to make everything from wooden fruit crates to plywood and pencils. The breed has also been widely used to restore degraded areas.
It's a 600 crore rupees industry. We should look at from it that our fruit industry tomorrow must not get affected, because you have to carry the food boxes all across the country, even it's to be exported. So you have to then think an alternative for this thing once you will go for the extraction or completely from your ecosystem. So it is to be given a due thought process.
There are about 328 confirmed cases of COVID-19 and 5 deaths in the valley. Due to the curfew that has been in place since August 2009, people are forced to seek treatment in makeshift facilities.
In India, a group of 69 COVID-19 patients were left stranded outside a hospital in northern state of Uttar Pradesh. The patients transferred from Agra city of state were seen sitting on footpath outside closed door of a hospital. The locals said patients were without any protective gear and were wearing only masks. Meanwhile, India reported 1,752 new cases of coronavirus, the highest single-day spike in the country. The Home Ministry said curfew violation by public in different parts of the country is a major reason for spike in infections. The country has recorded 775 deaths and over 24,500 coronavirus infections so far. Japan is investigating a virus outbreak among the crew of a cruise ship which docked in Nagasaki in January. 150 out of 623 crew members of the Costa Atlantica have tested positive so far. Head of the regional government's health and welfare department said picture will only get clearer once they get all the samples. He said with limited resources, it is difficult to maintain and control the health of crew members. The ship had no passengers on board and was diverted to Nagasaki for repairs rather than China due to the virus outbreak. The crew were meant to have been confined to the ship, but local media reports some left the vessel. All crew have been tested as the Nagasaki Medical Association declared it a medically critical situation. The UK and EU have failed to bridge differences over future competition, showing no sign of progress towards a deal on post-Brexit relationship. The EU's chief negotiator Michel Barnier said UK set a tight deadline by ruling out an extension to the Brexit transition period beyond the end of 2020. In a statement, Barnier said the UK cannot impose this very short calendar for negotiations. He said at the same time, Britain is not moving or progressing on certain subjects that are important for the European Union.
We made no progress on fisheries.
The United Kingdom cannot decide that there will be no extension of negotiations, as it would be possible, as it is still possible until June 30th. So impose this very rigorous calendar, an exceptional one for such an important negotiation. Never in history has Europe negotiated with a third-party country an agreement, be it just a commercial one. But here we are, far beyond trade only in such a short time. So the United Kingdom cannot impose this very short calendar for negotiations, and at the same time not move, not progress on certain subjects that are important for the European Union.
Alors même que dans le traité
The International Atomic Energy Agency says radiation from fires around Ukraine's defunct Chernobyl nuclear plant poses no risk to human health. The UN Atomic Agency said it has based its assessment on data provided by Kiev. In a statement, the IAEA said the recent fires near the plant have not led to any hazardous increase of radioactive particles in the air. The Vienna-based agency said the increase in levels of radiation was very small. It said despite minor increases, the concentration of radioactive materials in the air remains below Ukraine's radiation safety norms. Last week, the main fire among several blazes was extinguished, but smaller fires are still burning in the exclusion zone around the plant. Environmental activists say the burning of contaminated trees could disperse radioactive particles, posing a health risk. The motive of Canada's mass shooting has revealed, as police say the gunman began the rampage after his girlfriend escaped from his assaults. Police said the individual woman is currently recovering from her injuries and cooperating with the authorities. Police said after the woman escaped, it was a catalyst to start the chain of events. But police said they are also open to all possibilities that there was premeditated planning also involved. On Sunday, a gunman dressed as a policeman went on a 12-hour shooting rampage in the eastern province of Nova Scotia, killing 22 people. The 51-year-old suspected shooter was killed by the police and was identified as Gabriel Watman, who worked as a denturist. Australia and New Zealand have marked the Anzac Day at driveways after the public was urged to pay tribute to military personnel amid coronavirus pandemic. The Remembrance Day is a hugely important event for both nations. People held private ceremonies in driveways and on balconies as traditional memorials were cancelled for the first time in decades due to pandemic. The day usually has dawn services to commemorate the battle on the Gallipoli Peninsula in Turkey during World War I. In a statement, New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said people cannot join in person, but in the spirit to remember national heroes. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison urged people to honour those who served in the country's military in whatever way they can. Meanwhile, Australia has again closed beaches to the public after people failed to adhere to social distancing orders. A Russian unmanned supply ship has been docked with the International Space Station. Progress 75 cargo ship arrived at the station 3 hours later to deliver supplies to the 6 crew members of Expedition 63. According to the state media, the cargo craft carried water, oxygen, fuel and dry cargo, including oranges, grapefruits and sausages. It said the Soyuz rocket was dubbed the Victory rocket in tribute to the 75th anniversary of Russia's victory in World War II. The cargo spacecraft will remain docked with the space station for about 7 months. It is scheduled to leave the orbiting laboratory in December, at which point it will burn up in Earth's atmosphere. Muslims around the world are observing the holy month of Ramadan, traditionally a time of dawn to dusk fasting, festivities and communal prayers. But this year, a global pandemic has changed the celebration in unprecedented ways. New Jersey is no different. Muslim families are having iftar dinner without festivity and gatherings. Further details in this report.
Sharing the Ramadan joy, seeing all family and the community is very common in the holy month of Ramadan. But widespread novel coronavirus lockdowns have made this Ramadan difficult for Muslims. When Lafta Mansoor Auda's family, who runs a restaurant in New Jersey, sat down to their iftar dinner, it was different than in years past.
Unlike before, when you go to meet a friend for iftar or go somewhere to spend time for having a seher meal, it's very limited. All the post-iftar activities will be changed. No praying in the mosque, no tarawih and no fajr prayers. You have to do it in the house and you can't even do it with a friend. It has to be in your house.
Auda's family work together at their own restaurant. But this time, they are the only people in the restaurant in compliance with stay-at-home orders.
The difference this year is there won't be any customers because of the protection instructions. We will provide orders through delivery or pickup service. The customer can come and pick it up.
Anwar says these are sad circumstances, but still she wants to be optimistic.
I hope to see an end to the epidemic and see life back to normal as it was before. Beautiful. We used to be busy with the customers in these days of Ramadan. These circumstances are sad circumstances, but we have to be optimistic, and inshallah this ordeal will reach its end and life will be beautiful again, and we'll see our customers having iftar with us.
Curbs on large gatherings for prayers and public iftars or meals to break the fast has dampened the festivities of Ramadan.
As the Muslims around the world welcome Ramadan during the coronavirus crisis, mosques stand empty and fast-breaking feasts are cancelled. In Brazil, prayer leaders known as imams have turned to social media to mark the holiest month of the Muslim calendar. This report will now tell you more.
This year, Ramadan has come amid social distancing measures, forcing Muslims to break their fast without relatives and friends. But to enjoy the month in its spirits, imams at mosques in Brazilian cities of Foz do Iguaçu and Sao Paulo have arranged online sermons. Prayer leaders have advised people to stay at home and not put their lives at risk.
Unfortunately, because of the pandemic and with religious teachings, we could not put lives at risk. We cannot put health in danger. Activities that we do collectively as a group, normally in the mosques, continue to be suspended.
Ramadan usually fills these mosques with swaths of believers. This year, imams say they are trying to send out these prayers' spirituality within the homes of people.
This year we're doing these social media lives, using this tool to take spirituality to the homes of people, to live in the spirit of the month of Ramadan, so that these important prayers are part of the Ramadan month. It is so people are not left with nothing. We're trying to send out this spirituality, these prayers within the homes of people.
In Foz do Iguaçu, footages of believers revealing the smiles under their face masks are interspersed with the message, "We are together." These messages are also broadcasted on the exterior of a local mosque.
In Mexico, grappling with COVID-19, authorities have made the phrases "wash your hands" and "stay at home" their mantras. But that is easier said than done for those mired in poverty without access to clean water. More in this report.
In a modest community built on a former Mexico City dump, women gather on a rusty road to fill buckets from a water tanker truck. Adriana Valencia, who lives in a home perched on an arid hilltop, says trucks deliver water only once every 8 days.
We recycle water for the bathroom, to clean the dishes, water the plants. I try to save some until the truck comes every 8 days.
Residents complain the plastic barrels used to store water are sometimes home to worms. Even neighbors lucky enough to have running water says it was flowing yellow and murky of late. Many of them are out of work and short of cash and say they must often buy bottled water for personal use.
The truth is we have to continue using it, but we have to continue buying it. Because if the water truck does not come, it costs us 15 pesos. We have to buy it anyway because I have to have water.
In a 2017 report, the UN said Mexico had the highest per capita consumption of bottled water in the world, with 127 gallons a year. Meanwhile, in the same year, a government survey said in Mexico City, only 79% of households have a daily water supply. The study found that 11% of homes receive water 2 or fewer times a week.
The U.S. says the new trade agreement between America, Canada, and Mexico will come into effect a month later than initially proposed. U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer said he has notified Congress that the new agreement will enter into force on July 1st. In a statement, Lighthizer said both Mexico and Canada have taken measures necessary to comply with their commitments under the deal. Lighthizer said the crisis from the COVID-19 pandemic shows the U.S. should increase manufacturing capacity and investment in North America. He said in that effort, the agreement's entry into force is a landmark achievement. The announcement comes after reports last month that the Trump administration was considering a June 1st start date. France has prepared a historic package of multi-billion-dollar loans to help car maker Renault and flag carrier Air France through the coronavirus crisis. Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire announced $7.6 billion for Air France and $5.4 billion for Renault. Maire said the package was needed to save Air France amid crisis. He said, among other conditions, the airline will have to notably improve its environmental credentials. The minister said Air France will receive $3 billion in loans and another $4 billion in state-guaranteed funds. Major world airlines have halted passenger traffic, but they still have to pay to park and maintain grounded planes. Now let's look at the weather from around the globe. This is all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at indus.news.